gentlemen, moving forward for the opening keynote on Indian retail and multi-channel world, I would like to welcome Mr. Kumar Rajgopalan, CEO of Retailers Association of India. Prior to this, he was a country head retail solution at IBM, leading the business and solution development functions. Rajgopalan is associated with various organizations and industry bodies to promote retail. Over to you, sir.
Thank you. Good morning. Good morning. I know it's not simple, but the least we can do is to wake up. So, okay. So thank you, Ashish. Thanks for calling me for this conference. When I was asked to come in as a keynote speaker, I was rattling my head. I wasn't sure why I was called, mainly because I'm not a retailer. The last bit of retailing I did was in 2006. But then I had done retail from 1993, so I was one of those who did retail much before many of the people sitting here, I guess. I'm not a direct service provider. It's not as if I go and supply to retailers or anything. But we do provide service to retailers as an association to help the industry whichever way we can. And to that extent, I've kind of got the job of making sure that the retailers' voice is heard. We get retailers together, and there is some amount of knowledge that comes in for people who are in the industry. So with that, I guess my job, I thought, was to come in and give few pointers that would help in opening up a whole lot of debates and sessions through this day. So what's happening in this multi-channel world? The fact of the case is that it is a multi-channel world for all of us. We are accustomed to doing various things in our daily screen. And like in one of our recent retail leadership conference, Sandeep from Home Shop 18 told that we are living in a world of screens. We wake up in the morning, look at our mobiles. Sometimes even while sleeping, we look at our mobiles. We get into the car and we immediately look at our iPad or whatever it is that we have, the form factor that's easy for us. We land up into our office and look at various things that's again screens in the office. And somehow we don't seem to let a screen off our hands in whichever way we can. So in this world of screen, we seem to jump from one place to another, and we are constantly communicating, looking at things, and that's what is making our world go by. So in this century, we've shifted from a mere thought of a retail dukaan, come in and shop, to a thought wherein a customer is looking at various things, which is one screen to another. The mobile, the television that they seem to be watching the whole day, and also buying quite a bit, if the figures are to be believed. And then we are also going into various parts of our lives, wherein things like social media that's telling us what the others in our friend circle are doing. So in this kind of a world, the biggest thing that we look for is share of wallet. Is that the fact? Not really. Because share of wallet seems to have a real significance with the share of time. So it's essential for us to capture consumers with the amount of time that we can capture from them. So getting attention is getting to be difficult. Yesterday I was inside a lift with two people next to me and a small kid of theirs, and we were talking, and suddenly the father says, "Hey, why don't you say hi to uncle?" I realized I'm an uncle. I do realize that quite often. But the important part was this kid had a nice game in his hand, and the last thing he wanted was to say good evening to uncle. So because the father tapped and said good evening uncle, got back to what he was playing. This is a daily occurrence for us, whether we believe it or not. Share of time from the kid is getting to become as difficult, if not worse. So in this kind of a scenario, what do consumers say? So we did a real check on consumers with about 1,000 consumers in one of the conferences that we recently had. And consumers were allowed to talk about, and I'm not able to see the screen, so I'm going to look back here. Were allowed to talk about why they were shopping online. And most often they are not, they said shop from home. Shop from home, I guess, is from wherever it is that they are. It's not necessarily home. And so convenience is taking the big thing. No rocket science, but I think it gives a lot of insight to people who are developing websites, doing things for consumers, the fact that convenience is most important is getting to become bigger and bigger. The other thing is, when we spoke to them about what were the triggers, yeah, price was important and it's not to be underplayed, but the other bigger thing that is important is range. So this concept for consumers to buy is not necessarily only price, but it's about what I would call as an endless aisle concept. When people shop online, they are seeing endless aisles. They are getting to see things that's not necessarily only those that they can see immediately in front of them. And that's making them seek the endless aisles concept. So for those who are not necessarily online retailers, this is one concept to think about. If you are an offline retailer, if you are a brick and mortar retailer, the customer is not willing to think that it's okay if you don't give me the range. Whether you've got a small store or a large store, you've got to give them the range and at the place when they are wanting to shop from you, when they are giving you the time. The third part is about what's happening to retailers. We've talked about consumers. The second part is about what's happening to offline retailers. A significant part of this was done with retailers who were already doing business but not necessarily online. The good news here is a whole lot of them are saying that they are going to go online and a significant amount of their energy is also going to be spent on going online. That's visible from the second chart here. The third part, and the significant part, is about the experience. We take it for granted that people, when they buy online, are not worried about experience. But consumers are asking for experience, and this means that the experience has to be really taken care of, because consumers are not willing to say merely because you are selling me cheaper means I don't care a damn about experience. The other insight, and this is a significant insight for again offline retailers, is that when they are going online, they are seeing two things happen to them. One is that they are seeing significant amount of traction online, much more than possibly what they expected. Much lesser than offline, but the online is significant. The second part that they are seeing is that when they sell online, the cash memo sizes are getting bigger. And that's something that's really useful to the retailer. I'm not saying that its cost of acquisition of customers, its cost of retailing is dramatically different than the online retailers, but they are seeing that this is significant, and most of the times they'll try and make sure that they're able to match up, because this is share of wallet for them. Higher growth, higher cash memo size, and the third part is about returns. When they look at going online, they are seeing that their online returns is lesser than possibly the online retailers themselves. And that's helping them to think online commerce much more. So what are the things, so this is as about the retailers. Now what are the things that's happening in the system in India, in the ecosystem, to make things different for us? Whether we like it or not, FDI has happened. The fact is that consumers of today are buying from online channels from across the world. So it's not as if the consumers are not buying. How many of you buy from websites across the globe? Can you raise your hands? More than 50% of you. So what is the government talking about in terms of FDI? There's already buying happening by all of us from people across the world. But the fact that the government has opened up the topic on FDI in e-commerce, the fact that FDI in offline retail is also been there for some time, the single brand retailers are allowed to come in easily now, is making things change in this country. So people are speeding up their experience as far as retailing is concerned to match with the global retail processes. And this is only speeded up. This is revolutionary, not evolutionary. GST, whether we like it or not, is going to happen. I think government's been trying to go through this whole political rigmarole, but we know from various parties that we've been speaking to that it's going to happen. It may be called whatever, it may have a different avatar, but it's going to happen. Suddenly, commerce in this country would be based on real logistics and transportation models and not necessarily taxation models. And that's going to change the way things are. If the impact to at least the offline retailers currently we believe can be as much as 3% on bottom line, but it can be anything if you look at it at a multi-channel basis. Things like service tax on rentals, let me not dwell too much about it, but I think some of things are passé for online retail. The other part that's really changing the e-commerce world is when data is being seen the same way from the manufacturer to the customer. In cases when the customer is able to understand that this is the same product across the supply chain, there has been a dramatic change in the way commerce has happened. Let's look at books, let's look at the electronics industry. So things are happening here at a very rapid pace, and this can happen across categories. And so who is going to win the war is anybody's guess. I'm sure there are experts here who's going to come in and talk about it. The retailers are finding it not so easy to balance customers' share of watch, because everybody is trying to get the share of watch, and profitability. But that balance, I think at some point will get matured, and we'll need to say who becomes a winner when this balance is getting matured, is getting done. There's a lot of thought about why should the offline retailer be existing at all. Anybody's guess? But one of the recent panels in the session that we had was by a man called Duncan Grant, and he spoke about one place where he's really taking things forward. He told, I'm winning because the click and collect model seemed to work well for us. Customers are clicking online and collecting it from the store which is nearby. So customers are saying, I want all the benefits of going and browsing and understanding and paying for online, but I want the item within half an hour's time. They are wanting to merge all the benefits of offline and the benefits of online. So people who are able to benefit the cashiering speed of online are able to give the speed of delivery offline, are possibly who's possibly going to win. In the UK market, with all that's happened, with the number of customers, with the understanding of online, offline, with the understanding of e-commerce, etc., the market is about 10%, the online market. I think Ashish just spoke about $15 billion. Very possible, if you look at even the current market size, $500 billion of total retail, $50 billion is very possible. Question is, how much of this is now going to be in 5 years' time? I guess the next set of panelists will talk about what would it be by 2018, 2020? What would be the size of online commerce? The last thing that I'd like people to think about on this, and then I'm just going to summarize, is I think there's a lot of hue and cry about commerce. There's a lot of thing about how convenience is being taken care of. The one thing that I'd like to know is who is going to provide the benefit for three parts of consumers who come in together for a buying cycle. We always think that the payer, the user, and the influencer are the same. But we know from offline retail businesses that when you buy products for kids, there are sometimes three people coming in. The influencer is sometimes the mother, the payer is the father, and the user is the child. But this is not restricted to that part of the business. This is the way it is in normal commerce. I've got 16-year-old nieces who would love it if they can go into the store, buy an item and say, Kumar, please pay up. Okay? If it can be paid instantly, I think things are taken care of. I don't want to be giving the kid, a niece of mine, at least a credit card. And I know my niece is smart, because when she goes into the store, she's thinking, which uncle, auntie, grandmother, mother, father, boyfriend is going to pay for this product. If people can facilitate this, there are enough suckers to pay and there are enough suckers to buy. I'm calling it suckers, it's possibly derogatory, but the fact of the case is, it's actually the fact is that at that time, there is this influencing that's happening. So if there are people inside this room who can create this merge to happen, I think the whole concept of gifting takes a different turn. We believe that gifting is somebody gives a gift and then somebody else is collecting it, they sometimes are surprised, all that is fine. But we know that forever there was this gift registry that was done by offline retailers. But the gift registry's onus was that you'll go in and say what you want, and then somebody else is paying, and then you collect it. But what if my gift registry is immediate? I go to the store and I click and say, I want this, who is willing to pay? So the summary, build on trust, create endless aisles, increase share of watch of customers. The people who can retain customers, I think, are going to win. Plan for retail 3.0. Customers are looking at the benefits of the omni-channel presence. The good news with things like ticketing in railway has already proven it. I am able to go buy a ticket, I am going to reserve my seats, or for that matter movie tickets, right? I am able to get the product immediately, I am not waiting for too long. The concept of not waiting long, quick pay, choose what I want, do not get worried about returning back is all going to matter when it's in an omni-channel world. The last part is about this thought about purchaser, the payer and the user. Of course, this is something that got brought up during the Retail Leadership Summit. Who is going to win? Hopefully people who realize that they are building businesses not just for valuation but for value. Thank you everybody.